Thank you for joining us today. We are here to talk about a supplier's guide to promo standards. So before we jump into the presentation and I introduce the speakers today, I do want to bring up a couple of things. First of all, there is a question box that's available to you. Feel free to send us any questions that you have anytime throughout the webinar. We'll get to the questions at the end of the webinar, but as soon as you think of one, please feel free to drop it into that question box for us. And then I also wanted to mention that this webinar is being recorded. And so we will send out the recording in a follow-up email either later today or first thing tomorrow morning. So please be on the lookout for that. And so without any further ado, let's go ahead and get started. So today's webinar is called From Chaos to Connected, a supplier's guide to promo standards. And we're going to discuss how Order My Gear can help with that. And then moving on to introducing the main presenters today. We have our supplier team here, Tyler Ortega in sales and Aubrey Weaver, client success. And so I will turn it over to them.
Hi, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us today. Things that we'll cover today is what Promo Standards actually is, then also talk about why the Promo Standards have become so important to our suppliers. And then we'll also walk through what data is included, clear up some common misconceptions, and then spend some time on how suppliers are actually getting compliant today using OneSource by OMG. And then finally, we'll wrap up with some real examples, and then we'll have some time to do some Q&A, go over some questions that you guys have. Like we said, it's a high level look, not a super technical deep look at promo standards. If there is something specific that you have questions about that is on a deeper level, we can connect you with our promo standards team as well at a later date. You guys can all get together and then go over those questions with you. Okay. So to get started, here's the reality most suppliers are dealing with today. And I hear about this every day. So product data is spread across multiple systems, ERPs, spreadsheets, tools, and then they're shared across different partners, different service providers, different distributors, and all different formats across the industry. That leads to inconsistent data, manual updates across partners, pricing and inventory mismatches, and a lot of time spent troubleshooting issues instead of focusing on the selling. Ultimately, all of that translates into lost time, lost revenue, and frustrated customers. And so the good news is the industry is actively moving away from that model. As you can see in this graph here, there's over 500 suppliers that already have Promo Standards endpoints, and thousands of distributors and partners are consuming that data every day. The split here is that 450 suppliers have been made compliant by OneSource by giving our product data to us, and we turn around and host their endpoints. And then there's 58 or so that have generated and created their promo standards that they host themselves. So yeah, real-time accurate product data is no longer a nice to have. So it's quickly becoming the expectation.
Yeah, and to paint this picture, we really want to look at what's happening inside the Order My Gear ecosystem today. Some of our biggest partners like Halo and ASB, they're not just preferring promo standards, they're actually enforcing it. Their top tier reps are filtering their search results to only show promo standard certified suppliers that can integrate. So really, if you haven't adopted promo standards, the potential is you're not just falling behind, but you're completely invisible to some of the largest buyers in the industry through Order My Gear and the partnerships we have.
Yep. So with that context, let's break down what promo standards actually are. Promo Standards is a nonprofit organization that creates open standards specifically for the promotional products industry. If we think about it at a high level, it's just a standardized way to structure and share products and order data between suppliers, distributors, and service providers. It's a common language that allows systems to talk to each other consistently.
Yeah, and that common language can be thought about, really simple terms. You may sell hats, I sell pens. Hats have different sizes and different embroidery options, while pens have different ink colors and imprint methods. But to a computer, those two different products shouldn't look and feel like completely different worlds. There's really has to be a universal structure for this data so that any distributor or platform can instantly read it without a translator. And that's where we enter the promo standards.
The reason PromoStandards exists is very simple. It exists to solve all the pain points that we've already mentioned. The industry needs a way to standardize how systems communicate, how to reduce the friction between partners, and also improve efficiency across the supply chain. So instead of every integration being custom and different and a lot of friction, everything follows the same structure. That just means that you can work with more service providers and distributors because everybody's speaking the same language.
Yeah, and if we take a look at this slide, I think this is a great visual to start to, again, paint the picture of the importance of promo standards. On the left side, we have the supplier information, that raw data. This is your guys' lifeblood, your product specs, images, pricing, inventory counts, and your order tracking. Remember what we mentioned a second ago. You're selling a hat, your data looks like embroidery locations and stitch counts. If I'm selling pens, my data looks like ink colors and print areas. Naturally, our internal databases look completely different. But if you look at the right side of this graph, you have the distributors, decorators, and team dealers, specifically within the Order My Gear ecosystem, who need to consume that product data. If they had to build a custom translator for every single supplier's unique database and unique data sets, industry would just grind to a complete halt. And that's where PromoStandards comes in. That dark circle in the middle, that's PromoStandards connecting your product data to our network and our customers. I say that intentionally because with Order My Gear and with PromoStandards, and our suppliers, our customers are your customers. We're here to support and enable our distributor, dealer, and decorator network to sell fast and sell hard. And that ultimately means stickier orders, bigger price point orders, and more revenue for your guys' bottom line.
So now that we understand what it is, let's talk about why it matters. So this is really the simplest way to understand the impact. Without promo standards, you're dealing with spreadsheets, emails, inconsistent formats, constant updates, draining a lot of your resources. But with promo standards, that shifts to real-time data sharing, standardized formats, fewer errors, and automated updates. It's the difference between being reactive and having manual processes and having a scalable automated system.
Yeah, and all that sounds great, but ultimately, what does this matter for you guys as suppliers? It all boils down to really three words, and it's going to start with access. It's going to continue with expectations, and that third word is going to be scalability or scaling. Again, looking at this graphic on the right, when your data flows seamlessly into the Order My Gear platform via PromoStandards, you're automatically and suddenly unlocking more opportunities to sell through distributors, right? You're reducing that friction, you're reducing that time to sale. Your products aren't just sitting in a stagnant catalog waiting for someone to uncover them. They're really dynamically fed directly into Order My Gear's product search, which will be called Discover, and they'll get dropped directly into online stores. They'll also be able to be populated into our presentation seamlessly. You're really opening up a massive pipeline of automated exposure. And what I like to say is we're getting you in front of our network who sells fast and sells hard because we have tools in place. No matter how our distributor network is selling, whether that's direct wholesale POs, online stores, or presentations, we have a solution in place that's enabling those distributors. And that's really fed by OneSource and PromoStandards data feeds. But here's the flip side, and we have to be real about this. Many partners are now expecting this as a baseline. I mentioned the Halos and ASBs of the world a moment ago. They're not looking at promo standards as a nice to have anymore. This is the cost of entry. Their top tier reps, again, are actively filtering out suppliers who can't provide that validated live real-time data. If you want to work with partners at that scale, it's becoming a hard requirement. The biggest buyers in this industry don't have time to manually verify inventory or place orders via email anymore. If you want to capture that high volume business, we have to meet them with where they are. And by integrating, we're really ensuring that whenever any Order My Gear distributor, dealer, or decorator opens a presentation or runs a store, your products are right there front and center, able to be consumed and ultimately sold.
When you're compliant, your products become easier to find and easier to sell. So your data stays consistent across platforms, you spend less time fixing issues, and you can scale your business without increasing operational overhead.
Yeah, and time is money here, right? The less time we're spending on phone calls, asking if things are in stock, the amount of time in an email waiting to get specs or images, high quality images to these partners, that's time that we could be selling and the time that you're taking away from being sold. So again, by reducing those friction points, giving you more time in your day, you're going to be able to, not only capture those orders, but be able to go after net new business.
Yep. So what kind of data are we actually talking about here? So this is where OneSource comes in. We're taking your existing supplier data, so whatever format you can provide us your product data, and we transform it into the PromoStandards format. We validate it and we make it accessible through a centralized API called OneSource. And that includes like version translation for different partners and over 400 different validation checks to ensure your data is accurate before it's shared. OneSource also provides reporting on errors within data points for those suppliers that have their own hosted endpoints. For those of you that are hosting your own PromoStandards, I just pose a question for you to think about. How do you validate your product data for errors before you put it out to your customers today?
Yeah, and it's in the name for a reason. OneSource is, the one source of truth for your data, whether it's validating. We mentioned the checks that we ensure it's accurate before it's being shared. But anything in this industry, this can become, and ultimately our goal is to have us become your one source of truth for your product data, not only within our ecosystem, but outside.
With PromoStandards, you can share everything across the product lifecycle. That means product data, your media, your inventory, your pricing, orders, status updates, shipment notifications, and invoices. So this isn't just about the product catalog itself. It's about end-to-end data flow and how you communicate to your customers. So looking at these elements, how much time would it save you day to day to be able to provide this information in a standardized automated format to your customers? I'm sure it's a lot.
Yeah, and the big thing is we're not just making you available. Your product data is being inserted directly into the workflows that distributors are already using. By being part of PromoStandards and OneSource, you're essentially cutting the line and shortening the gap from discovery to payday and PO.
Yep. So this list is a standard specific endpoints that power the data that we're talking about. So you'll see in the list that each one handles a different piece of your product data or the way you communicate your data. It has inventory, pricing, orders, and so on. But the key takeaway isn't that the technical detail is here. It's that everything is structured and standardized. But just to kind of read into these a little bit more. So for product data, that's going to be like your basic product name, your description of your product, your marketing points, really basic stuff. But then media content would be any videos, images of your product, both blank and decorated images. Inventory, of course, is just that. How you guys are providing your inventory to your customers today matters. So when you can provide inventory, then distributors that are selling your products can quickly go in and see what you have available. So basically by providing your inventory in OneSource, you're able to communicate that to them. That is one that we support with your help, meaning you provide us that data regularly. We can't just do that without your extra support. We also have product pricing and config, which is pulled from your basic product data, but it includes your decoration information, any additional decoration fees, decoration locations, the more complicated portion when you're ordering a decorated product. And then purchase orders is available as well. We can push purchase orders from distributors to you today. And then order status, order shipment notification, those two are available with help from you, similar to inventory. You have to provide us that information, then we can push it along to the distributor. And invoices, that's that's still to come with OneSource, but it's the ability to actually provide your invoice and billing back to your customer via PromoStandards. So here we have some common misconceptions. Go ahead, Tyler.
Yeah, and again, there's a lot of misconceptions at this point. Some of you may be thinking like it all sounds great, but this PromoStandards OneSource, it feels just too heavy of a lift. We have other priorities going on, which we get that. But again, I think that is one of the misconceptions about PromoStandards that's floating around the industry, is what it takes to get integrated. Looking at the four biggest misconceptions we hear every day listed on the slide here, and we really want to contrast them with what it's actually like what's the real world application to work with Order My Gear, PromoStandards, and OneSource. First one is it's only for big suppliers. A lot of people sometimes assume that you need massive volume to justify this, and the reality is that Order My Gear works for suppliers of all sizes. Whether you have 10 SKUs or 10,000, getting your data structured properly, levels the playing field so you can compete with any of the industry titans. Second here, it's too expensive. Traditionally building custom web services from scratch costs an arm and a leg. Independent individual developers, they're expensive. But with Order My Gear, you can live in days and not months. We really act as a extension of your development teams to build out, manage, and host these data endpoints. We've essentially completely alleviated the lift off of your plate. We've streamlined the process to eliminate those massive kind of drawn out implementation costs. So your teams can then focus on, maybe more pressing needs inside, your guys' day-to-day operations. The end of the day, the most common thing I get is the product data is one of the biggest time sucks. So if we can help give you that time back, that should also impact your guys' bottom line. Third misconception, this ties into the second one. We need a tech team. This is one of the scariest one for a lot of business owners and suppliers. You think you need to hire these big, robust, expensive software engineers and teams just to manage it. Forget building and maintaining it, but just the day-to-day operations, making sure that things are that are accurate and up to date. With Order My Gear, OneSource, and through PromoStandards, there are no developers required. Again, I mentioned being an extension of your guys' IT or development teams. If you don't have those teams, we can be that for you. We literally handle the technical heavy lifting so your existing teams can focus on what they do best, selling and decorating. And finally, one that we hear, it's just too hard to integrate. If you tried to integrate for every distributor or every platform individually, yes, there's just every one of them is unique. Every one of them is slightly different. And that does sound like a nightmare. But with Order My Gear, as we act as your gateway, it's one centralized API. It's an open API. So not only, can we, make your products available within our ecosystem, anybody externally has the ability to connect directly with your endpoints. You connect with us, we handle distributing that uniform data across the entire ecosystem and beyond. And at the end of the day, what we aim to do and what we are doing is taking all of the traditional friction out of PromoStandards implementation so you can do nothing but reap the benefits of automation without the headaches and price tags.
So let's talk about how that actually works within OMG. So if you try this on your own, it gets complex really quick, of course, like we were just mentioning. You're dealing with technical requirements, ongoing maintenance, multiple partner integrations, and significant development costs. But with OneSource, we simplify that. We centralize your data. We provide one API that connects you to the industry and eliminate the need for custom integrations. The learning curve that each individual would have is eliminated when using OneSource. Our team has helped over 450 suppliers with PromoStandards, and because of that experience, we fully understand those requirements.
Yeah, and to add to that, I think that number there paints a very clear picture. Of the 500 and change PromoStandard registered suppliers, we're directly working with over 450 of them. Anytime you've got that kind of, share in that small of a, we'll call that a market, it means we're doing something right. And, people are seeing the value in adding us as an extension of their teams. And again, letting us do the hard stuff for you. So here we'll talk about, OneSource as your data hub. This is similar to the slide we showed you earlier that I spoke about, and it paints the same picture. You'll notice this slide, again, like the first one I showed you, but the big difference here is where the magic really happens for you and your business as a supplier. Enter stage left. This is OneSource by Order My Gear. We mentioned a few slides ago about that one centralized API. This is it in action. OneSource isn't just a bridge to a single distributor storefront. It's the entire data hub. When you feed your PromoStandards validated data into OneSource by Order My Gear, that engine in the middle, it seamlessly branches out into two massive ecosystems. Think of it as inside the house and outside the house. First, looking at the right side, like we mentioned, it populates all of our ecosystem platforms, presentations, pop-ups, company stores, even into some of our ERP through Aturian. It's an incredibly deep level of native integrations across the entire suite of our solutions. You're not going to have to do that over and over again for different solutions that we offer. But the real kicker here is, the real kicker here is that we don't just keep your data locked inside. It's not a closed platform. I mentioned that outside of the ecosystem or outside of that walled garden. We actually push your data back out via that same API to the entire branded merch industry. That means that any third-party technology providers, service providers, or distributors that want to connect directly to your endpoints can also consume your data through the exact same API. And the big takeaway I want you guys to take here is the word efficiency. You don't need to build one-off integrations for Order My Gear. You don't need to build another one for a third-party tool, and then maybe a third one for major distributor networks that you work with. You feed OneSource once, it's going to broadcast your data everywhere it needs to be to impact your bottom line.
Yep. So we handle the heavy lifting here: the data transformation, endpoint hosting, version translation, partner access, and credentialing, as well as over 400 automated validation checks to ensure your data is clean and complete. So suppliers provide their best data set, and OneSource team maps their data to be PromoStandards compliant. And in the process, there are automated validation checks to ensure better data. Then OMG hosts your endpoints in OneSource, where any distributor or service provider can access those endpoints. And then as new versions come out, OneSource makes those translations automatically.
Yeah, another piece of value that we bring is what Aubrey just mentioned, you providing your best data set. It doesn't have to be perfect. Rarely is it. And that's another thing that we do, is we will help make sure that we are putting your best foot forward. I like to say, give us your ugly, your good, bad, or ugly, whatever data you have currently today, we can get our hands on it, take a look, give you a health score, make recommendations so that we can start ushering you towards that promo standard compliance and ultimately making you compliant, from that day on.
And the result of that is accurate, reliable data, instant partner access, faster time to compliance, and no ongoing technical burden on your team.
And again, at the end of the day, time is money. If we can give you more time back, we can give your development or IT teams time back. Those are all things that you can then reinvest back into your company.
Yep. And so what are our clients saying? So you can see right here, there's 3 quotes from clients. And so this isn't theoretical. This is what suppliers are seeing in practice today: avoiding tens of thousands in development costs, going live in days instead of months, and immediately connecting with distributors. And as one supplier put it here, instead of managing errors across systems, everything is centralized in one place. If you are a current OneSource by OMG supplier member, we have your endpoints available already on OneSource. There's also a marketing packet available to help in announcing that you are PromoStandards compliant to your customers. That's a very important step that a lot of our existing customers forget. It's important that everybody at your company knows you're PromoStandards compliant, and that you tell your distributor customers and people that you want to be customers that you're PromoStandards compliant to help open those doors.
Yeah, I think a big thing that is often missed and really not talked about enough is the overall cost to do this yourself. There is an example in the slide before, $60K in development costs. I've seen anywhere quotes from $20 to upwards of $100,000 just to build and implement. That doesn't include maintenance, ongoing maintenance, just managing those endpoints day to day. It literally is more than a payroll head in terms of dollars and cents out. So again, if we can alleviate that financial burden up front and allow you to reinvest not only the potential of money spent, but then that time that you're saving back into your company, that is where we're seeing suppliers really get excited about, again, PromoStandards, what they provide, OneSource, how that ties into PromoStandards, and how we make you available, accessible, and consumable to our networks who sell fast and hard and the entire industry.
If you're not yet PromoStandards compliant, then the fastest and easiest way to get there is through OneSource and Order My Gear. You can scan the QR code you see on your screen right now, or visit the link to schedule a personalized demo if you are not a current customer with us, and see exactly how this would work for your business. And if you're already a client, you can feel free to reach out to your OMG client success manager. If you don't know who that is, we can just fill out this information and we'll get you there. But yeah, that is the quick summary of PromoStandards and why that's beneficial for you as a supplier. But I'm sure everybody has some questions, so feel free to go ahead and start typing in your questions and we'll get some of those answered.
Yeah, so we got a few questions that came in during the presentation, so keep asking those questions and we'll get to as many of them that we can through today. And so we might go a couple minutes over the half-hour allotted time, but that's completely fine. If you guys need to log off, we are sending out the recording. Okay, so let's get started with these questions. If I choose to use OneSource with you to essentially host our data, how do we get the orders from the customers who place them? Is it all done through the OMG system, or does it come over to us via email?
It actually totally depends on what the distributor chooses to do and what platform they're using. So when you put your product data in OneSource, it automatically goes to the distributor central system, to the Order My Gear stores for pop-up and company stores, as well as being available for distributors to connect to your PromoStandards. So depending upon what system that distributor is using is how you'll get that order back. Via email will be Distributor Central. Also via email would be Order My Gear pop-up. And in most cases, I mean, company stores has different integrations, but it depends on what the distributor is doing. And then for PromoStandards, the distributor can choose to send you a PO via PromoStandards, and it would come to you if you have the PO endpoint through that endpoint. If you don't, it actually comes to you as a PDF and an email, so that the distributor can stay compliant in PromoStandards for POs, but it still gets it to you if you are not that compliant with POs. So it's a big answer. I don't know if Tyler has anything to add to that, but lots of different ways that you can get orders.
I think you covered it.
Okay, and then this is from the same person. Branching off my previous question, I assume if we choose to use OneSource, then we do not need our own API for PromoStandards. OneSource will do everything for us, correct? How would we go about getting set up with OneSource?
That is correct. Yes. So if you wouldn't need two sets. So you either are going to take the path where you're doing it yourself, or you're going to take the path where you're going to have OneSource host it. So it depends on where you are as a company, where your technical team is, of course. But to get started, if you're not currently a member of Order My Gear, Distributor Central, OneSource, then you can reach out to Tyler's team and he can get you guys a demo. If you are a customer, you might not know that you already have OneSource and PromoStandards, and so we can talk you through that too.
Okay, cool. Does either or both the company store and pop-up store platforms have the ability to send EPOs to suppliers? As far as I know, it doesn't, but perhaps something has changed.
Current state, it does not. Slight tease behind the curtains. That is one of our big initiatives on our roadmap, is getting EPOs enabled and set up. That's one thing that we hear from a lot of suppliers and distributors for that matter. But current state, again, to reiterate, as of Thursday, May 21st, no, but that's something we're very excited about. And I can't tease too much, but again, something that is being roadmapped and looked at by our development teams and engineers.
Okay. Are there any limitations in price grid configuration?
I think that might be a better question to be very specific with our team about. It's dependent upon what PromoStandards standards are, right? Like that's what we use. So if we can take that question offline and get more specifics from you, then we can give you a better answer probably.
Yeah. Great. Yeah, we'll follow up one-on-one with you. What are Sage and ESP doing in regards to PromoStandards? Are they going to be using PromoStandards, or do we need to continue sending them their API data?
I would suggest that you work with your ASI and Sage reps and ask them that question. Tyler, I don't know if you have anything to add to that.
Yeah, unfortunately, we don't have too much inside access to how they are and what they are doing. But we do know that because of OneSource and our connection to PromoStandards, they're using us as the one source of truth to update those other platforms.
Okay. What information do we provide distributors if asked for our PromoStandards endpoints?
So we have a guide for that. It's really simple. If you're using OneSource, it's just a matter of them getting a login to OneSource. That's their set of credentials for everybody's endpoints. Once they have that free login to OneSource as a distributor, they can find yours and anybody else's endpoints right there. So if you are with us, I have a guide we can send you that you can easily share so that they can follow those 2 or 3 steps to get a login and find your data.
Okay. How much more does it cost to have OMG create and host our PromoStandards endpoints?
I think that really depends on if you're a current client or not. If you're a current client, again, that is wrapped in and baked into it. For non-current accounts, that's where we can get you in front of our team, take a look at your current state, SKU size, and build out some custom packages. But really, all of that is included in a standard, what used to be Distributor Central, what we've rebranded to OneSource, this membership package. And that's something we can, again, discuss one-off depending on your current situation.
Okay. Can the product data on OneSource be synced with ESP and ASI search engines?
I think that kind of goes back to the other question. It's going to be up to those other service providers and what they will accept. DC makes your product data available to anybody that wants to access them, including other service providers. So having your product data on DC can make your product data available to anybody. It's just a matter of that service provider to connect to it.
Okay. Do we need to worry about data safety? Can anybody hack our OMG account?
That's going to be a more technical question. I don't have like details on, so we can give you more information on that offline for sure.
Yeah, okay. we have plenty of securities and compliance certificates, to make data secure and your data secure. At the end of the day, that is one thing that makes OneSource unique is you still matter-of-factually own your data. But again, if there's specific T's and C's or security things that we like to provide for you, happy to do that, and we can take that one offline.
Okay. What is OneSource and how does it relate to PromoStandards?
Yeah, I think PromoStandards is the gasoline, OneSource is the car that gets that information from point A to point B. Aubrey, I don't know if you want to elaborate on that, but PromoStandards is kind of the raw data in how it's formatted. OneSource is us carrying that from A to B to C to Z.
Yeah, no, I mean that's the OneSource is the way that the bridge with your product data and how it gets to all the different places basically, and PromoStandards is the standard itself.
Okay, if we host our own endpoint and OMG calls to that, do we still get the data validation checks? And if so, what is it looking for?
You do. So that's one of the coolest things for the suppliers that I've worked with that already have their own PromoStandards. They all often log into OneSource directly and pull reporting on their different endpoints and the errors that their endpoints have, if they have any, or if products aren't sellable, or if there's anything specific that's missing. There's a lot of different points that we look at, and it's all around what is good data and what is PromoStandards requiring for your data versus like what you provide us. So we can get into more details with you about that, of course, offline. If you have your data on DC, we can show you how to see that. But yes, that's one of the biggest features of OneSource for a supplier who already has their own endpoints. We often have suppliers join us that think their data is great and ready to go. And then we go to put them in the system and there's some things we want to work on because nobody's validated against that data yet.
Okay. And then we'll go ahead and just ask this one more question and wrap it up since we are 5 minutes over time. Do we have to upload our inventory on a daily basis or submit it to you? How the live inventory works?
Yeah. So there's two ways. Go ahead, Tyler.
No, I was going to say, to my knowledge, it's as live as you want to make it. I know we have some suppliers that provide it dang near hourly. We have some that provide it weekly.
Yeah, obviously, the more often you provide it, the more accurate the data is going to be for the customer. But from a technical standpoint, you can provide us your data via an FTP or via API and update it as often as you need, and then updates our system automatically.
Okay, cool. Well, we will wrap it up. Thank you, everybody, for all of your questions. This was really helpful. And be on the lookout for the follow-up emails either later today or first thing tomorrow morning. And we'll have the recording to this webinar. All right. Thank you, Tyler and Aubrey, for presenting today. You guys did great.
Thank you, guys. Thank you all for joining and appreciate you guys' questions.
Yep.
All right.